Is there anybody listening? Is there anyone that sees what's going on? Read between the lines, criticize the words they're selling. Think for yourself and feel the
Welcome back to the trailer park. I am Chanda-Masta, the trailer park pundit. Trying to shut down streams. I got all these streams repeating in my ear when you got like cascading effect of like 5 streams you're trying to mute. Drove me crazy. Good morning. Oh, it's been a crazy week. I am still exhausted. We got so much to cover today. I'm so glad you joined me for YouTube Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. That means I have to watch my mouth because I'm on YouTube, but you just never know. I mean, some segments I'm like, should I save that for Friday when I'm uncensored, or do you think YouTube could come after me for that? You just never know. It's a crapshoot. It's worse than Vegas. Speaking of Vegas, I watched the new Elvis movie last night. Not very impressed with it. I really didn't like the cinematography in it. I thought it was too busy. It was too artsy. They had a lot of newer music. I think they were trying to get you to relate that because of Elvis, that the modern day musicians, you know, are where they're at. I don't know. And then of course it had Tom Hanks playing Colonel Tom Parker, which that was never his real name in the first damn place, but I'm just not a huge Hanks fan anymore. And the end was good. And yeah, there's probably some bit of the story that a lot of people didn't know. And that's how controlled Elvis was, and that he was the first real merchandised musician, you know, actor. He was the triple threat, right? Which all of them now, it's all about merch and everything else. He was the first one, really. And that's probably why he's the biggest recording star in the history of the world. So that's your review of the movie. But we got a lot to talk about. I'm waiting for everybody to kind of roll in. If you kindly hit the like button and share this out. I got to spend Sunday with the Shiptons, which is Julian Assange's dad and brother. And it was an amazing day. The interviews, I know that we were scheduled at like 4:45, but it's so out of our control when you are at an event like that. I mean, the movie was supposed to start at 2:15, and then it started late. I don't even think we got it started till like 3, and then that pushed our whole agenda back. And then we thought we were going to do interviews in the lobby of the theater, but the theater was really small, the lobby. So then we ended up doing it where we did the dinner. It was a big to-do. It was amazing though, and I got to have such great personable conversations with both Gabrielle. That's how they say it. It's Gabriel, right? But in Australia, they say Gabrielle. That's what John calls him anyways. And John, they are such a delight. I brought you guys some pictures and a little bit of behind the scenes type of thing. I want to make sure I shout out my chat though before I get into it and start showing you guys all the deeds. Hey, Snow Leopard, so glad to see you. There's a Stop the War rally in London this week, I think. Let's see. Rad Angel, free Assange. Yeah, fucking free Assange for sure. Natalie Williams, hi, beautiful people. Hi back. DC's in the house. It's Cold Fusion stopping by. Signal Wars, yeah, DC for sure. Hey, Fred Edwards is hanging out. So is Arim. Rad Angel, you're everywhere. Oh, I'm in there. I was about to shout myself out. And I think I don't even have the Rumble logged in. Let me see if I can get Rumble up real fast. So yeah, we are up on all channels this morning. Yay, for the first time in a few weeks. Of course, we took our second community guidelines strike on YouTube 3 weeks ago. Don't talk bad about the Queen. That's what I learned. And I won't do it again. And yeah, so we are finally back, but we are going to be really cautious when we're on YouTube because we don't want to lose this channel. We've had this channel for 3 years. It's taken us a long time to populate it. Hey, Caligulus Carnation. I always have the hardest time with that name. And whoever else is hanging out over there. So I'll show you guys my card. This is an actual picture. Of course, I added Julian. I think it's only fitting that he's in gray till he can come be with his family, you know. So let's see. fair use. All the videos I'm commentating on are fair use. I am merely giving you my opinion. Please go out there and do the research, form your own opinion. And let me tell you, the truth is out there. They just know you won't look for it. And you can help me out, buymeacoffee.com/trailer park, or my favorite way is PayPal, because it's like Christmas when you get a PayPal, because it's instant. You don't have to wait for some platform to sit on it for 2 months and take 50% of it and then give it to you. So we appreciate PayPals while we're still able to take PayPals. We know. But for right now, it's working. Okay, let's get started, guys. Here we go. So Sunday, I got up at the butt crack of dawn, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and had to hustle out of here for a couple-hour drive into Tacoma. And we got there. It was the Grand Theater, very cool old theater, kind of like the restored original theaters from the 20th century, right? Sadly, that's what they are. And I have one in our town that's shut down because they haven't came up with the funding to restore it yet. But the next town over, they have their original Rose Theater, which is great because they show a lot of movies like this, right? Independent movies, documentaries. So it's small theater. I'd say it probably seated 60 max, and it was full, completely full. I don't think there was any seats open, maybe a seat or two. And of course, the Shiptons showed up, I'd say 20 minutes, 30 minutes before screen time. And we had tabling going on for Assange. The Seattle Action for Assange group did an amazing job with this event. I am so happy for them and so proud of them. Of course, Amber is one of their organizers. And so this is the lobby. They're tabling, and lots of people signed up to sign, letters, petitions, to get emails, and of course got their stickers and buttons. And yeah, that's us hanging out in the lobby. Kind of a cool theater. They sold vegan popcorn. I didn't know, and it smelled like regular popcorn when you walked into the theater. And then I was like, okay, what's vegan popcorn? So John, after they came in, of course, Julian's dad, they said their highs to all the organizers, and we're all getting ready. We're moving gear and setting stuff up. And I see John sitting by himself on a bench with nobody around him, just kind of, minding his own business probably. And of course, you know me, I had to go flop down right next to him. Oh, hi, how are you? How was your trip? And I had the most delightful conversation with him about the Texera whistleblower, and I'll give you his thoughts on that as we get further down the deck. I just had so many great conversations with both of them, and then we watched the movie, and I had a whole list of questions that I had, taken with me to ask them if we got the chance to interview them. And when I had talked to John in the lobby before the movie, he said, absolutely, we'll sit down and do an interview. He just has this kind energy about him. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, a good human being. And so as soon as we were done with the movie, they had a Q&A, and I do have recordings of the Q&A. I did get a good bit of it. And so I'm going to edit that in with the actual interview that we did get. So there was a lot of, I don't know, you know how it is. I wouldn't say it's miscommunication. It's just hard communication when there's that many people organizing and you got to move from venue to venue to venue. So we took off and went down to the space which was only a couple of blocks away, where we were going to have dinner and have a chance to do interviews. And so we went down there and started setting up, and it took quite a few hours. And we got to a point where we thought they weren't coming, because by this time it's like getting late, like, oh no, there must have been some kind of miscommunication. They didn't make it. Why does that picture look so blurry on this one? And finally we got message that they were en route. They were on their way. And where is the picture of the setting up? There we go. There it is. So we were at the Night and Day Cafe, very nice little older, building. And I think it was a woman who's renovating it, owns it. And she just let us, use the space temporarily. And it was so quaint and so nice. And of course, we set up a little area to do an interview. And Amber's rocking the gear now. Let me tell you, her and Franklin, man, they're packing like a whole studio with them, not just on the fly stuff like I have. And then they catered the whole dinner. The Action for Assange Seattle group came together, and oh my gosh, what a beautiful spread. We had beautiful salmon. Of course, you got to have salmon in Pacific Northwest. You have somebody come in. It was the best salmon I've had in years, and I'm not a salmon fan. Let me tell you, just the opposite. And lots of good, just vegetables. It was good. It was a really good spread. And so it was really nice. We all get to sit down and chat. And at that point, here, let me bring this up so you guys can see. So there's the Night and Day Cafe. There's a little area that we set up in. And then, of course, there's the little dinner table where we were set up to eat. It looks so beautiful. Amber brought flowers, and it was I thought it was very quaint and beautiful. And yeah, so then we all ate and John sat down across the table, and I sat down next to my friend Tree because I took her. She's a physician, and she's like most Americans. She wants to be informed, but she's busy. She's working, and so I think it was very shocking for her. A lot of the information that was in the documentary was like, wow, why doesn't the American people know this? It's kind of her takeaway. So it was good to have a perspective from somebody who really didn't know a lot, like we do. We all know. And Gabriel sat down next to me. And I was like, oh, great. I haven't got a chance to chat with you yet, because I had talked to John a few times, but I hadn't had a chance to chat with Gabriel. And Gabriel was so funny. Oh, my gosh. These guys have the richest sense of humor. Let me tell you, he had me cracked up the whole dinner. And then once we finished dinner, we headed over to the little, recording studio, because by that point, they had flown in Sunday morning. So they had literally flown in Sunday morning, dropped their stuff off at the hotel, came down to the theater, and then made their way to the dinner. And then it was probably, by then it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And we know that they got to turn around and get right on a flight to go to Oklahoma for a premiere the next day, for Monday. And so we wanted to hurry up and get them out of there. I wanted to do a much longer interview, and we kind of hoped that we could. But the way that the day progressed, well, I'm just happy that, we got to talk with them. I think we made an impression as the Seattle, for Assange group. And they're just, you could feel the anguish. Now, let me tell you, in the movie, if you get a chance to go see this movie, please, please, please go see it. Because there was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't even know, being an Assange activist for so long, you really get a lot of insight into Stella and her fight and the kids. And I didn't realize how much they're shuffling around, right. She lives in one country, and then she has to go to the UK for all of the hearings. And then, of course, they live in Melbourne, Australia. They're from Melbourne, and they just have that Melbourne charm. I don't even know how to explain Melbourne charm, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And it's almost like a Southern charm here. But I did bring one little clip for you guys. Hey, Rob Juno, thank you. Thank you so much. I did bring one little clip. And then, like I said, I'm working on editing everything that we got this weekend, and I'm going to put it together in a full reel. So we'll do, like being in the theater at the beginning, and then I'll get the Q&As in there, because there was a couple of questions in the Q&A that I thought were so important that I want to get out there, but I want to do it in like little reels that we can move on Twitter. So hopefully, yesterday I ended up having to sleep most of the day because I was exhausted, but I'm hoping that tomorrow and the next day I'll get some editing out, and we'll get the actual interview edited, because the first 2 minutes of it, the sound was wonky. I don't know if we were using a sound mixer, and I think maybe something wasn't on or wasn't off. And Julie, it's a snow day. That's crazy. And so, yeah, I'm going to put out a good video. But here, check this out. This is John Shipton, Julian Assange's dad. And this was right after we watched the movie.
Gabriel and I travel the world. We've seen tens of thousands of people, and two distinct things emerge, and they're very heartening. One is we find that there's a yearning in people to see justice. I want justice. I believe the possibility of justice, and to see it done. The other is a revulsion and seeing injustice and cruelty. That's what we perceive. And that flows back to Julian Assange, you know, so that is pretty heartening.
So in the movie, they talk to a lot of broadcast legacy media journalists, which that's their job, right? They need to go out there and tell Julian's story, even though they don't like it. And they get asked the stupidest fucking questions from these guys. I mean, we know how legacy media is, right? And I couldn't imagine having to deal with legacy media every day, but they do it because they got to get Julian's story out there. And you really see the damage and the strain that it's putting on the whole family. He quoted Chris Hedges, and he said, Chris Hedges always says that when a person goes to prison, it's not just the person that's in prison, it's their entire family. And that's so true. You see it with the children, they can't see their dad. They can't, they have to talk to him on a phone when they do get a chance to talk to him. And those kids they're growing up very fast without their father, without a father influence. I mean, John tries to be there as much as he can, but he has his own family. He has a small child of his own that he's having to leave behind every day and be out there traveling, who wants daddy home. And that was heart-wrenching for me to see that part, just like, oh, these poor family. I mean, it chokes me up just thinking about it. I couldn't imagine having to leave my kids and fight for one of my adult children, and that's what he's doing. And it's such a much bigger fight. And he knows that it's about, censorship and truth. And so I got a chance to talk to him for a second about the new whistleblower, right? Texera. And he just threw his head back and John just laughed. He said, oh my gosh, America lets National Reserve Guardsmen at 21 years old have access to this type of information. He's just laughing about it. And he's like, oh, and the legacy media helped track him down. And he laughs and he goes, journalism, real journalists never divulge their source, let alone help track him down with the FBI. The irony of that. And yeah, he was pretty amused by what we're calling a whistleblower. And Lizzie, let me tell you, they loved your sweatshirt. Oh, that is the greatest sweatshirt. Where'd you get that? That is so nice. So your hoodie was a hit. I wanted to wear a nice fancy dress, but I knew it was going to be cold. And I was like, you know what? I'm here to support Assange, so I'm going to wear my hoodie all day. And I'm thankful I had it. So yeah, it's a great photo. Thank you so much. There's better photos out there. I got to track them down. One of the producers of the movie, Niles, was there, and he took a bunch of great photos. So, and we talked about the Resist Act. Yes, the Resist Act was another big topic of conversation that night. And I think that some people that were there didn't understand how dangerous the Resist Act is and how this new whistleblower situation is being used as a catalyst to move us along in the Resist Act. And I think as we move forward, one of the most important things that we're going to have on our agenda is to fight that damn Resist Act and to call both sides of the uniparty out that are trying to shove it down our throats, right? But even when we do manage to shut these things down, they just sidestep us, rewrite it into a different bill, call it something else, and still get what they want. I mean, that's what we saw with TPP, right? So all in all, it was an amazing experience. I can't convey to you guys enough how sweet and human they actually are. The fact that they're traveling the world, meeting thousands and thousands of people, to get this message out there. We're never going to stop fighting. And, one of the last questions I asked them, before the night was over is, what does extradition look like if the U.S. absolutely says, okay, Assange is coming here? And they're just completely flabbergasted. Like, are you kidding? He will never get a fair trial. He will be tried in espionage court in Virginia that has like 100%, win rate against whistleblowers and truth tellers. And I think really what I took from it was their stance is we can't even let that become a reality. Like, we're not even thinking about that happening, because Julian's health, mental health is very, very, very bad. They've had him in isolation 23 hours a day for so long now, since COVID started. He hasn't been allowed to see his attorneys to prepare for rebuttals to, anything. He's not allowed to talk to his family. Who knows how many doctors are in there? And then the doctors that do go there, it's not like they're reporting to the family how Julian's doing. Basically, it's Julian that's telling the family, "Oh, I'm okay." So they don't know how he truly is, other than they know he's been seriously depressed. There has been talk about suicide if he was extradited. They're afraid that, yeah, he would just give up. And I gotta say, I would probably feel the same way in that situation, right? Like, oh God, they got me now. They're gonna drag me over there. I might as well just end it now. I mean, I am not saying that I don't condone that at all, but I can understand the thinking of it. So, um, it was amazing. It was so amazing. If you get a chance to, please go out and support it. Support it. Support it. I mean, when we heard they were going to Nebraska the next day, it was like, yes, that is the heartland, and that's who needs to hear from you guys right now. We've got to. We see steam building in this movement. We're starting to see a lot more support, especially from the conservatives. And so it's just a matter of us getting out there and telling the story. So hopefully this week I'll drop a nice little reel of kind of, collage of everything we did and some of the really important statements that they said. So I thank you guys for helping Roar Media get there, because we can't do it without your support. You guys help support a lot of that action this week. So thank you so much. You guys are doing it. It's not just us. We might have been on the ground, but you put us on the ground. So we appreciate it more than we can say. I brought a little clip from Tara Reid because she's talking about this too. And yeah, let's just hear from Tara.
Last week, 21-year-old National Air Guardsman Jack Trejera was arrested for online leaking of documents, Pentagon top secret documents, on a gaming site called Discord over a period of months. Now, the Washington Post and New York Times, the American legacy media, instead of being interested in the contents of these documents, they colluded with an organization called Bellingcat and U.S. intelligence to find Jack Trejera. So instead of protecting the whistleblower, they revealed him, and not only that, seemed proud of it. The contents of these documents are quite startling indeed, because they really illustrate all the lies the American people have been told by the Biden administration about this proxy war U.S. and NATO is fighting against Russia via Ukraine, including the numbers of casualties, including the outcome that Ukraine probably will not win, including that the U.S. has been spying on its own allies, not to mention the money issues around Ukraine. Cy Hirsch's reporting revealed that Zelensky himself has embezzled almost $500 million for himself, his own pockets, and the generals in Ukraine were actually having infighting because they thought he was skimming off more than they were. And that's how much corruption there was. And guess whose money that is? That's the American taxpayers' money. Besides all of these revelations, the legacy media seems very focused on simply exposing and doxing the whistleblower. Now, this is in stark contrast to actually what investigative journalism is supposed to do. If the government is lying to the American people about an unauthorized and illegal war, like the one that's happening right now in Ukraine by the U.S., I mean, that is an impeachable offense. So here we are. It's a dystopian world, an upside down world, where there is no real journalism anymore. It's up to citizens and investigative journalists that are independent to try to bring truth.
And that's what we do here at Trailer Park Pundit. We try to bring truth. And, like always, it's not about the content that's in the leak, right? It's always about the leak. And let's not talk about the fact that they're lying to us and lied us into yet another war, right? We that's all we do in America, is we lie ourselves into unwinnable wars so that way people can skim money. Yeah, when you talk to somebody who's not paying attention to this and they're like, "Oh, they're taking money? What do you mean?" Like, You think all the billions and billions of dollars that we sent there, they're buying weaponry with? Come on. Come on. We know better. We definitely know better. Yeah, I love Tara. She's a fighter for sure. What do you guys think about this whistleblower? I mean, is he a CIA asset? Is he an infiltrator that they put in there just so that way they could push the Resist Act through? Tell me your guys' thought on it, because I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, he told us, the American people, a bunch of stuff that people didn't know that weren't paying attention. So Pentagon docs allegedly leaked by Jack Texara reveal at least 4 additional spy balloons, reports the New York Post. Are we shocked? Are we shocked that there was more spy balloons that they didn't tell us about? I'm not. Actually, I heard a report. It was probably Dabu or one of those guys, just like 3 or 4 days ago, that there was 4 more balloons down over New Mexico, and nobody was really talking about them. They were like, "Oh yeah, we don't know what they do." Yeah, yeah, they just don't. We don't even seem to care. So it was such a big deal just 6 weeks ago, right? And now it's just, the media skims over it. Not a big deal. So I did bring you guys a full deck. We have a lot to talk about, and we'll get started with this day in history. Actually, not a lot happened on this day in history. The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere happened on this day. Of course, he rode his horse Macaroni and let everybody know in Boston that the British were coming. The British were coming. I've heard a lot of crap about Paul Revere. I don't know what. It seems to be like conspiracies about everybody in history. 1906, San Francisco was rocked by an earthquake that was caused by slippage along the San Andreas Fault. I have a report further down the deck that's going to scare the shit out of anybody who's on the West Coast, because that sounds like it might happen again very shortly. And let's see, 1942, U.S. Lieutenant Colonel James H. Doolittle led 16 B-25 bombers on a spectacular surprise attack on Tokyo and other Japanese cities. The Doolittle raid, as it's known, caused little damage but boosted ally morale. So yeah, they boosted ally morale. Remember, this is in the movie Pearl Harbor actually too. So Pearl Harbor gets hit and America's mad, and now we want into the war, which we were just saying the day before, like, hell no, we don't want anything to do with the war. And so Doolittle rounds up a bunch of B-25s and goes, let's go kick some ass. And I remember Alec Baldwin played him. Of course, Alec Baldwin would. And yeah, like we always do. Well, we didn't bomb to kill people. We just bombed to get people involved. Oh, today's tax day, guys. Do you get your taxes filed? So Montana becomes the first U.S. state to pass legislation banning TikTok on all personal devices. And don't forget to pay your taxes this year. Other countries are depending on it. Yeah, Ukraine's definitely depending on you paying your taxes. So let's talk about this legislation banning TikTok on personal devices. I don't know how well that's going to go over, but ultimately this is what they're trying for, right? This is what the Resist Act is about. This is about the Orwellian control that they've been trying to get over America. And, more and more, I feel like there's a Western wall that we can't get out of to get real information anymore, unless you know what you're doing, unless you have sites and reliable places that you can go to. They want to outlaw VPNs, make it illegal for you to sign into a VPN and go read Al Jazeera or, some RT. They definitely want that outlawed. They do not want American citizens being able to obtain information outside of the Western media. And it's really, it's kind of working at this point. I mean, it's really hard. I'm an indie media person, and I have to struggle to get out to find information outside of our little sphere. That's what they want. And the Resist Act, they're all pushing it, right? We're going to be seeing both sides of the aisle. This is scary. China's controlling us with TikTok, and now Discord is putting up national security secrets. We got to get control of all of these servers. And ultimately, yeah, all the servers in the United States. Did you guys watch the Elon interview? I've got a few clips of it. I didn't bring any talking about the revelation about how the government was in your DMs. But yeah, he admitted it. The government has had the ability to be in your DMs this whole time, and you can't tell me Facebook's any different. So you just know, and I've known this for years, anything you type online anywhere can be read by anybody at any time. Just know that. So when I type even a simple email to a friend, in my mind, I'm thinking, am I okay with somebody else reading this? And that's sadly the world we fucking live in right now. Am I okay if this simple email that I'm having between a friend of mine get out 2 years from now? How is it going to make me look? You know, that's the reality of it. Anything that you put online now. The Resist Act's not going away. It's probably just going to go get souped up on steroids, which we know that it's the Patriot Act souped up on steroids, basically. So yeah, Patriot Act, I'll be bringing you guys more info about it. There's been some really great deep dives from people in indie media looking at it. I want to say Indian Reef did a dive into it once, or Indy did. You guys can go follow that. I'm sure Kit has dove into it too. They always do great work. Do you guys see 200 troops arrived in Taiwan yesterday? Dark times ahead. And then, well, that didn't do me any good. I was going to block out this name, but apparently I forgot and didn't block it out. So there you go. Greg S says, that's absurd. Ukraine can't accept anything but complete withdrawal. Otherwise, Russia would just build up and try again. Stop being such a Putin shill. Brainwashed people be mad as AF when you ain't brainwashed, right? I mean, this statement is, what's absurd is this statement. You think that you can dictate to a winning country how you're going to lose? Like, okay, we're going to lose, but not your way. That's not how this works. And if anything, those leaks told us is that that's not what's happening, right? And it's going to get worse over the next 6 months, especially as we get into the spring and summer campaigns there. But I got to tell you guys, with this information that 200 troops, I mean, you think that the Americans who are paying attention should be losing their shit right now. Like, hey guys, we just started moving troops into Taiwan, but not a word. It's crickets. And to show you that it's crickets, I did a little search over on the YouTubes this morning saying, what is the mainstream media saying about us sending troops to China? And yeah, there was none. There is none. Not one single goddamn report that I could find on YouTube about 200 troops landing in China. Now, I did multiple searches. I did 200 troops to China. I put the date in. I screenshotted it here, but you can see nothing as new as 2 months ago, a year ago, and then look at what it is. What military equipment is China selling to Russia? Yeah, China's military is growing fast. Be scared. And China and India clash over a border. So, of course, that's PDS. But yeah, that's what you get when you... oh, I can do that. That's cool. When you actually search it on YouTube. So that just goes to show you, you're not getting any information from the Western media. And, you know, as much as you think that Twitter is where it's at, and we'll talk about Twitter and Elon as we get down there, as they censor us more and more, it's going to be harder and harder. And we know that. We do. I like this. So, of course, the Mark Hamill thing, I covered it last week. This guy, you know, such a Star Warian idiot. And he's being called out for tweeting out, what was it, a video, I believe, and a big old speech about how he stands with Ukraine. We made fun of it last week. Anyways, he replies back out, I had no idea what that flag's significance. My support is simply for Ukraine over Russian invasion, period. And of course, Comrade Misty is Putin's buddy, says, I support Nazis, period. And yeah, basically that's what he's saying. I have no idea what that means, and I don't care what that means. And never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, or Luke Skywalker what that flag's significant. Yeah, for sure. They're just actors at the end of the day. We know that. This is funny. This is really funny. Who put this out there? So this is the Ukraine defense minister. I'm not even going to attempt his name because I will just completely destroy it. I will submit my resignation after the victory over Russia. So he's not going to quit until they win. Hate to tell him, he's going to be hanging in there a while. And somebody tweeted out, "Why is Billy Joel running defense in Ukraine?" It does look like Billy Joel, doesn't it? That's kind of funny. Oh no, come on. My deck has been messing up. I came home yesterday and I saw, okay, I'll start writing a show for tomorrow. That way I don't have so much to write this morning. And Google completely glitched out. I couldn't move anything on my deck. I couldn't even upload stuff from the Google Drive onto my deck. And yeah, it was, so I had to bring a new browser in. I'm using a different browser. So sorry if I glitch out, but it's not half as bad as when I was using Google. I'm trying to do workarounds. I actually thought I was going to have to cancel today's show, but I was like, that sucks because I know people want to hear about our adventure this weekend. So, hey, Denver, how's it going? The electronic Berlin Wall of America. That's what I feel like it is. I feel like there's this electronic prison wall that is keeping us in. And the more that I talk to people outside of our country, and the more that, we meet up with other indie media in other countries, the more I realize, oh my God, we used to say this about Cold War Russia. We used to say this about China. We used to say this about, West Germany. But look, we are the worst at it right now. We can't get information for nothing, and they don't want us to have any information. So absolutely, Luke Dogwalker, that's a good one. Snow Leopard says, a Luke Streakwalker. That's funny. So Claire is talking about these poor college-age kids in the Ukraine that are not allowed to leave the country to go to school. You care so much about them, but you don't care that their children can't go to college. I mean, just listen to this.
President, month after month, people come in here and shout glory to Ukraine. The walls and the buildings are decked with flags and slogans, stand with Ukraine. But what does that mean? What does it mean for the thousands of young male Ukrainian university students who are banned from travelling abroad to study? Since last September, although enrolled in foreign colleges, they are forbidden from leaving their country, losing places, scholarships, grants, in flagrant breach of Article 26 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights. And be clear, these men are not fleeing the war. They are exempt from military service. Proud Ukrainians, they want to play a part in redeveloping their country and rebuilding it after their education. Yet they are being blocked by Ukraine's Minister for Science and Education, who's failed to amend the law while issuing exit letters for the sons of the connected and the privileged. They're being interned by Zelensky, who, despite receiving a petition from 25,000 parents and students requiring him to act, has done nothing. And neither have the so-called friends of Ukraine in the EU government. Surely standing with Ukraine, if it's to mean anything, means standing with the citizens and against corruption.
Speaker is Mr. Dino.
You gotta love Claire. I love that she was sporting her tattoo. Do you see that big old tattoo? She's got a panda bear tattoo on her shoulder. That, to me, just makes her even more personable and real, right? She kills it every time, her and Mick. Yeah, don't make an Irish woman mad, but she needs to be mad because she just burns them down every time she gets up there. I think I have one more up there. Oh, what happened to my meme on this one? I guess Google didn't like it. So National Guard will use phone location tracking to recruit high school students. So federal contract materials outline plan to geofence 67 different public high schools throughout the state to target phones with recruitment ads. So yeah, you're 17, you're gonna be out of school in 6 months. It's time for your phone to start blowing up with military recruitment ads, because you can't have education and you can't have medical and you can't have anything in the future unless you go fight our damn useless wars for us. That's what I see. But the other part of this that's so big is the geofencing. There's no way to escape it. They're just gonna take the information from the federal contracts. I mean, that's where this is coming from, the Fed. And of course, they need people because, as I reported just 2 weeks ago, 70% of kids don't even qualify now to meet the standards to join the military. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh, speaking of bad, let's talk about Row the Hoe. Row the Hoe. So this is Yemen. Let's see, Reuters, the exchange of nearly 900 detainees by the two sides in Yemen conflicts have started. The International Committee of the Red Cross said the move is a significant confidence building measure amid peace talks between Saudi and the Houthis. Well, Rowe tweets out, good to see progress in peace talks in Yemen. It is past time for Saudis to end their brutal 8-year war and blockade of Yemen's, as I've advocated for years. Sure. And this will create the opportunity for the Yemen people to decide their own political future. Okay, what is wrong with this statement? I'm glad he's saying it because, yes, we need out of Yemen. But for him to say it is past time for the Saudis to end their brutal 8-year war and blockade on Yemen, excuse me, who's yeah, we want to blame this on Saudi all we want. And Saudi, yeah, okay, but this was yet another freaking proxy war. Whose bombs was it that was dropping on Yemen children and killing them? It was ours. So for him to stand there and bald face, and that Roe always does that, man. He is a sociopath when it comes to putting in your face and lying to you. And yeah, that one fired me up this morning and pissed me off. Like, shut up, hypocrite. Well, there it is. The stupidest thing I'll read today. Probably not the stupidest thing I'll read today, but definitely freaking the most hypocritical, right? France, they ain't stopping in France. You guys see France? It's not even comparable to anything that we've ever seen in the United States. And, I see people talking about that, but it's not even. So I grabbed you a little gray zone clip from last night. Of course, Macron finally came out and gave a speech pretty much telling his people, F you. I'll do what I want. You elected me and I can do what I want. Sound like a tyrannical dictator? Yeah. I promise he'll start talking in a second.
Looks like they are tipping over these giant recycling container about the size of a car, and it was tipped over into the middle of the street.
You notice he puts the camera down. Why is he putting the camera down? Because he doesn't want anybody caught on camera doing something illegal that they can be identified for. That's just something you learn as independent media. Be on the ground. Don't record anything criminal activities, right?
Going down this narrow, quaint street in Paris, and they're looking for more demonstrators. This is the night that Emmanuel Macron made his speech, his first public speech to the country, explaining to them that he had to make these neoliberal economic reforms. He had to raise the retirement age. He had to cut some of the pensions. And he has to force the striking workers to go back to work. These are all things that he said he has to do. And even though that his entire parliament disagrees with him and did not side with him, Emmanuel Macron went a different way, and he didn't even have to get everyone's vote. Looks like something's happened. As I was saying, it's not only these economic policies that are angering the working people and the youth of France. It's also the way that they're being implemented. They're being implemented in a way that's very anti-democratic. We're finding loopholes in the French Constitution that will allow Emmanuel Macron to make these economic reforms without the consent of the people.
Yeah, without the consent of the people. Basically, Macron just told them, go suck it, because I can do what I want. You guys elected me, and I don't have to listen to any of you. There's a claw right here that I can do what I want. And I think it's just going to make the people even more incensed. And I will be keeping an eye on it. Go watch that Gray Zone live feed. It was a couple of hours long. There was a lot of footage of the police. But I really wanted to give you the recap of what Macron had done. But the police were moving in force last night down the roads, chasing protesters and whatnot. And they kept telling the media, the independent media that was out there on the street, stay behind us or we'll beat your ass, basically. And so, yeah, if you get in front of them as they're sweeping the streets, you get swept too, is basically what I understood from that video. So great work going out to the Gray Zone. Oh, this piece of crap. Albert Bourla, Pfizer is now CNN's business CEO of the year. Of course, this was 2021, but I just wanted to bring this because look at CNN talking these guys up, and that's what they do. We know that. That's what they do. And I was trying to explain this to a friend of mine the other day. Like, don't you understand that the lobbyists, the CEOs, they go from being ahead of one thing to, normally they'd be fighting the regulations, but now they're in control of the regulations. And that we've seen that in so many different industries, right? We've seen that with healthcare. We definitely see that with big pharma. And now we're seeing that with AI, but we'll get into AI because I did bring some Elon stuff, but I saved it till the end of the deck because it's kind of long. So Trudeau is unhappy, and so is CBC, which is Canada Broadcast Central or System, something like that. Anyways, they did the same thing as NPR and everybody else last week. They decided they were going to pout and go off Twitter because they got called out for being state-ran media, state-supported media. And of course, our journalists are impartial and independent. To suggest otherwise is untrue. That is why we are pausing our activities on Twitter. And of course, it's in French. I'm not going to attempt it. And I love what it says, who can reply. People at CBC Radio Canada mention can reply. So if they left Twitter, they wouldn't actually be able to reply, right? So basically, they just told everybody they left Twitter and it didn't happen. But this pissed Trudeau off. Check this out.
I think it says a lot about the Conservative Party of Canada that they're choosing to constantly attack independent media organizations, journalists who are working hard to keep Canadians informed and support our democracies. CBC Radio-Canada serves right across the country, delivers local news and local content in many regions of the country, and I think it is telling that in order to attack this institution that is important for many, many Canadians, he runs to American billionaires, the tech giants that they continue to defend in committee and in their approach on our legislation to make tech giants pay their fair share. Conservatives are always there to defend them. So when they're trying to attack a foundational Canadian institution, the fact that he has to run to American billionaires for support to attack Canadians says a lot about Mr. Poilievre and his values.
Word of the day, hypocrite. Definitely. What a hypocrite. What a 100% hypocrite. I did like that it said 69% government funded. So yeah, I could see that, like they have a little bit of independent media and Trudeau's going to pretend like they're all independent media. I've actually made it on CBC TV before because I live literally across the water from Canada. The day Donald Trump was elected, for some reason, I had been scheduled to man our Democratic Party headquarters. Now, why the establishment Dems put me in there, I guess it's because they were having such a bad day with Trump getting elected. So I was manning headquarters when the TV crews came in and wanted an interview from Democrats, knowing what it was like. And I just laughed at them, like I wasn't that worried about Trump. I was more relieved that Hillary Clinton didn't get in there, that was more what I was saying. But, Trump was a game show host. He's still a game show host to me. And yeah, Trudeau's a big ass hypocrite. Oh, this one. I'm going to have to read this one as we go because I don't remember what this is. Okay, so Al Jazeera, of course, government funded. Hear the human stories and join us and discuss. Okay, so somebody says, a huge thanks to Elon Musk for calling out Al Jazeera as government funded media. Your decisions are vital in combating anti-Jewish hate and promoting transparency on Twitter. Leading the way, hashtag truth matters, hashtag stand with Israel. Yeah. Okay. And then my whole question was, why the hell am I seeing this? Why is Twitter showing me this? Do I follow this guy? No, I don't follow this guy. You can tell by the big circle that's circled there. I blacked out his name, but why is Twitter showing me people I don't follow's opinion? I thought your feed was people you follow. Why do I keep getting a shit ton of shitlit messagery in my feed? Every day I'm hitting that not interested, not interested, not interested. Why are you putting this shit in my feed? I don't know. Everybody says Elon's saving Twitter, but we know better, right? We do know better. Oh, guys, I woke up this morning and saw something really gross, and that was Bernie Sanders hanging out with Jen Psaki. And she's been a major pain in the ass the last couple of weeks. Now she's got her new show. And let me tell you, I don't see any difference in Bernie and his talking points than what he was spewing when I had a survivor or a savior complex, right? Like, oh, Bernie's going to save us and he's going to get us Medicare for all and he'll get us college and we've lost everything because Bernie didn't win. Bernie's still spewing the same bullshit for the Democratic Party, and that is Trump's bad. Trump's bad. So let's check it out.
In a recent CNN poll, 58% of Republicans without a four-year college degree said nominating Trump again would give the party its best chance of winning in 2024. And you have warned about not focusing on issues that are important to a range of workers, range of Americans in the working class. Are Democrats underestimating Trump? Is that something you're concerned about as you're watching?
Of course they're underestimating Trump. But the issue that we should ask ourselves is how does it happen when you have a pathological liar who is a billionaire who could care less about working class people, ends up with so much working class support. And the reason is that for too many years, the Democratic leadership has turned its back on working people. So you have today a minimum wage which remains at $7.25 an hour. That makes sense? You are the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people as a human right. Talking to you 50 miles away from the Canadian border. They spend 1/2 as much as we do per capita. You guarantee health care to all people. We pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We have corporations who are making it harder for workers to join unions. We have a child care system, which is a total disaster. Do you think we're paying attention to the needs of the working class in this country? Billionaires are doing phenomenally well. It's time we stood up with work for working people and fought for a government and a society that work for all of us. And when you do that, I think people will see the fraudulent nature of somebody like Donald Trump.
Okay, Bernie, I'm all for that. I've been for that when you were regurgitating the same shit 10 years ago. But here's the problem. All you've done is support the Democratic Party, who does that exact same shit to the people of America. They're the ones that are holding us back from getting these things. Quit pretending that Biden wants to give us Medicare for all. Quit pretending that Biden wants to take care of the working class and give us a minimum wage hike, because it's not a reality. And the fact that he supports the Democratic Party, hook, line, sinker, pull the chain, and those are memorized talking points from 2016. Get some new goddamn talking points, Bernie. I can't believe that. I can, and I'm thankful that I fell for it a long time ago, and I have evolved over all of these years, and I see it for what it is. I just see Bernie as a puppet who mouths whatever the Democratic Party tells him he's got to get out there and say. Trump bad is the number one thing to say right now, right? Because they don't want to have to run against Trump again. And the fact that he's hanging out on MSNBC, who wouldn't even fucking cover him during either of his election runs. Bernie, just makes me sick. And I know it makes you guys sick too. I can't listen to the man anymore. But one thing I love for him is bringing people like Chanda-Masta and us all together. And I used to say that, Lizzie. I agree. The one thing I got from Bernie Sanders was an amazing community, amazing people who understand what the fight is, because Bernie doesn't understand. Or if he understands, he's just old and tired and he gave up, you know? We don't know. We don't know what happened, you know, in the end of the DNC convention. What was it, like the 29th, December 29th of 2016, when he showed up with that black eye and he bent the knee to Hillary Clinton? Who freaking knows? You know, I don't put it past this corrupt government to have backed him into a room and said, you know, that's it. We're going to take your kids out. We'll shame your wife. You will, you know, we'll destroy anything you have for the future. And I could see Bernie just bending the knee, because he hasn't been the same since that day. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was always, you know, a hypocrite sellout, and I just didn't see it till that day. But that was the day I saw it. So that was also the day that I think Cenk Uygur told us we all had to vote for Hillary. Not happening. Guess what? Fetterman's back. Your boyfriend's back. Today, John Fetterman returned to the U.S. Senate after taking a leave of absence due to clinical depression. So 17.3 Americans, 17.3 million Americans, over 7% of the population suffer from depression. This man should be viewed as a role model. So, and then of course the Dems are out there saying John Fetterman killed McCarthy's plan to cut SNAP for the next two sentences with the next two sentences. So Fetterman will chair a subcommittee in the Senate, and he has responded, cut SNAP for families and kids will be pushing tax cuts for billionaires. Not on my watch, he says. Not on my watch. So yeah, Fetterman's out there saving the people. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how much saving he gets done on his new committee. I'm not even going to go into the whole fake Fetterman, real Fetterman, fake Biden, real Biden thing, right? We all know. But I am so glad that Fetterman's going to save us. Let me tell you about SNAP cuts. SNAP cuts came down on the 31st. So not last month, but the month before. February, the end of February. So March 1st, everybody who was getting extra SNAP benefits, which is EBT, that's food stamps, basically. If you don't know what it is, it's your debit card, because you don't do stamps anymore. And so under COVID, if you're a single person and you qualify for food stamps, depending on what state you're in, the allotment for one person for a month is about $200. So maybe it's a little less in the state you're in. Maybe it's $150 because of cost of living adjustments, whatever. So you don't get more than about $200. Have you tried to live for a month on $200 worth of food? You can buy 20 things. So good luck with that. And so during COVID, they added extra SNAP to everybody. It was federally funded, went to the states. And so you got, so I know some people that were getting an extra 200. So they went from 200 to 400. So when you get used to spending $400 a month on groceries for 2.5 years, and we see inflation shooting through the roof and blowing up, especially the last year of it, right? Then we take that away from the people, and now they're back to living on $189 a month. People are fucking starving right now. I'm seeing it in real time. Our food banks doubled, tripled the amount of freaking cars that are there. You get there 2 hours early and you're 10th in line. I mean, and we all know going shopping, what the prices are like now. We're paying $5 a dozen for eggs. I mean, it's just insane to think, oh, these people who've been eating good for 2.5 years, fuck them. They can starve now. And that's what we're doing across the board. And then they're like, let's cut more. They're getting too much. We're spending too much taxpayer money feeding the fucking people of our country, but let's go bomb Ukraine and give them as much money as they need. That is ultimately what they're telling the people of this country. And it makes me mad. It makes me mad when I see my neighbors that are on Social Security only having $100 worth of fucking food stamps to live on for the month. You know, it makes me so mad. I only get $128 a month from SNAP. Exactly. But that's way too much. They want to cut it. How dare you take their money by eating it? It's outrageous. It's freaking criminal, and it pisses me off. And we don't talk about it because if you're one of those people that get SNAP, well, then you're undeserving of even having a fucking opinion because you just mooch off society. And that is not true at all. And it pisses me off. You guys can tell this one makes me mad. It makes me mad because, you know, every family I know locally is fighting with this issue, is trying to figure out how to make those dollars stretch, and they're not stretching. I mean, they're only getting maybe 2 weeks worth of fucking food for what they're getting, and they can only live on nasty shit like hamburger and ground turkey. And I mean, don't talk to me about eating beef, which we're going to talk about in a second, which they don't want anybody eating meat anymore, right? They're just going to freaking do away with it by making it too fucking expensive for anybody to afford it. You know, I didn't celebrate Easter this year with my family. I have 3 grown kids. I have grandchildren. I canceled Easter because not a damn one of us could afford to spend an extra $200 each to put a party together or, you know, a holiday event for our family. And this is what it is. This is what our country is doing to us. But you know what? Hey, support Ukraine, right? Screw the people starving in our own country. But they got their ways of making us stop eating. And here's one of them. This is New York.
1 in every 5 metric tons of carbon dioxide our city emits comes from food. But all food is not created equal. The vast majority of food that is contributing to our emission crises lies in meat and dairy products. We already know that a plant-powered diet is better for your physical and mental health, and I am living proof of that.
Are you beta male? Beta! Beta!
But the reality is that thanks to this new inventory, we're finding out it is better for the planet.
You will eat the bugs and be happy.
You will eat the bugs. You will eat the bugs. Yeah, they're going to make it to where we can't access meat anymore, right? You can't eat what you can't get. And yeah, butter is $10. I know. I only eat real butter because I ain't going to eat fucking plastic. I ate margarine, plastic for most of my childhood and young adult, right? Because I didn't realize. I just like, oh, mom buys this. This is what I eat. No, I will not touch that shit anymore. For sure. DC, thank you so much for the question. Why is the film called Ithaca? Just curious. You know, I should have asked that. And that is a great question. And where were you when I was writing my questions? And what's crazy is I had that question too in the back of my head the whole time. I will research it and I will find an answer for you. I really will. I just had so much going on this week. Did I see another shout out I needed to get to? Yeah, Rob Juno somewhere. I think I saw one from Rob. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Come on. Should be lit up. My studio's not lighting stuff up, but I appreciate this super chat, Rob. I lost it, I think. Is that it? No, I guess not. Now I'm too far on up the chat to see. Yeah, we're not going to be eating real food much longer. Oz the Boomer has joined us. How you feeling, Oz? Glad to see you in here. Of course, he is on the road to recovery now, so we had fun Saturday night. I thought it was a good show. Okay, now let's get into AI, because that's really where my brain has been the last few days is really this bigger AI conversation that's going on. And it's going on with the top developers of AI right now. So Elon went on Tucker last night and let it all rip that he thinks we should shut down the development of AI right now, these ChatGPT, ChatGPT-4, you know, the ultimate chats, because there's a couple of different ones out there, and his concerns that it could take over humanity like Terminator, right? And so I brought a little clip from it. And then I brought you guys a clip from Lex Friedman, Mr. CIA. So we have Mr. DARPA right now. So we're going to hear from Mr. DARPA. And then we will hear from Mr. CIA Asset about this issue. So here's Tucker from last night. Oh, there it is. Have another, Shanda. Oh, thanks, Rob. So nice of you. Yeah, now I see it. Okay, so I might end up pausing this just so we can, you know, talk about the points as we go. So here we go. He needs to buy some chapstick. I can tell you that. Look at his lip. He looks like he's been punching his lip.
Really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we only put in regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
You think that's real? It is it is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, that's definitely where things are headed, for sure. I mean, the things like say ChatGPT, which is based on GPT-4 from OpenAI, which is a company that I played a critical role in creating, unfortunately.
Back when it was a nonprofit?
Yes. I mean, the reason OpenAI exists at all is that Larry Page and I used to be close friends, and I would stay at his house in Palo Alto, and I would talk to him late into the night about AI safety. Evil. And at least my perception was that Larry was not taking AI safety seriously enough.
What did he say about it?
He really seemed to be one sort of digital superintelligence, basically digital God, if you will, as soon as possible.
He wanted that?
Yes. He's made many public statements over the years that the whole goal of Google is what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, or artificial superintelligence. And I agree with him that there's great potential for good, but there's also potential for bad. And so if you've got some radical new technology, you want to try to take the set of actions that maximize the probability it will do good and minimize the probability it will do bad things.
Yes.
It can't just be hell for leather. Let's just go, barreling forward and, hope for the best. And then at one point, I said, well, what about, we're going to make sure humanity's okay here. And then he called me a speciesist.
Did he use that term?
Yes. And there were witnesses. I wasn't the only one there when he called me a speciesist. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Yes, I'm a speciesist. Okay. You got me. What are you? Yeah, I'm fully a speciesist. Busted. So that was the last straw. At the time, Google had acquired DeepMind, and so Google and DeepMind together had about 3/4 of all the AI talent in the world. They obviously had a tremendous amount of money and more computers than anyone else. So I'm like, okay, we have a unipolar world here, where there's just one company that has close to a monopoly on AI talent and computers, like scaled computing. And the person who's in charge doesn't seem to care about safety. This is not good. So then I thought, what's the furthest thing from Google would be like a nonprofit that is fully open, because Google is closed for profit. So that's why the open in OpenAI refers to open source, transparency, so people know what's going on.
Yes.
And that we don't want to have like while I'm normally in favor of for-profit, we don't want this to be sort of a profit-maximizing demon from hell.
That's right.
That just never stops.
Right.
So that's how OpenAI would.
So you want speciesist incentives here, incentives that.
Yes, I think we want pro-human.
Yeah.
Let's make the future good for the humans.
Yes.
Yes, because we're humans.
So can you just put it? I keep pressing you, but just for people who haven't thought this through and aren't familiar with it, and the cool parts of artificial intelligence are so obvious. Write your college paper for you, write a limerick about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot there that's fun and useful. But can you be more precise about what's potentially dangerous and scary? Like, what could it do? What specifically are you worried about?
Okay, going with old sayings, the pen is mightier than the sword. So if you have a super intelligent AI that is capable of writing incredibly well and in a way that is very influential, convincing, and is constantly figuring out what is more convincing to people over time, and then enter social media, for example, Twitter, but also Facebook and others, and potentially manipulates public opinion in a way that is very bad. How would we even know?
So that was a little bit of a long clip, but that was a long interview. He did like an hour. And, I know him as the DARPA boy that he is. When you understand what Starlink is actually doing, it is shooting 5G at the planet, and he has so many satellites up there now that the Star Watchers are actually bitching that they can't see the galaxy through the fucking satellites. And, you know, for him to say that something is coming for world domination when we kind of feel like that's what he's doing, right? There's a lot of back and forth with this, and I've listened to a lot of it. I'm really I don't know. I'm really intrigued by this conversation because you guys know I use ChatGPT a good bit, and I got to admit, I've become pretty addicted to it pretty goddamn fast. I mean, it's kind of a end all know all for the internet. And instead of going and searching, 10,000 Google pages, you just tell it and it'll go find you the specific information that you're looking for. So I utilize it a lot. Do I see how it could take over humanity? Yeah. And so basically what he is saying is, hey, it has the ability to be writing information that we're going to deem as real. And why? Because it's being told that it's real. Will it be malice when it does it? I don't know. But it does have the ability, and we see that, right? Mainstream legacy media, they have that capacity right now. They put it out there. People believe it's true. ChatGPT is the same way. But here's the thing. They're worried that because it's being made for profit, and that, I mean, we know that Microsoft fired their ethics team that was working on ChatGPT that they just released. The same week that they let it open to the public, they fired their ethics team. Does this make any sense? No. And the thing is so now when you go out there, and Elon's asked for a moratorium for 6 months on AI so we can have broader conversations, talk about how we implement controls so that way we don't end up with a super intelligence enslaving us, because ultimately that's what would be the result of it. So how do they combat that, right? Can you put ethics into the computer as you're building it, into the artificial intelligence as you're building it? Well, yeah, they know that, and that's what the ethics team's about. Have they done that? It doesn't fucking sound like it, and that's why all these guys are scared. Now, has the singularity happened? That's the true question. And if you don't know what the singularity is when AI becomes almost sentinel or self-aware, right? It knows that it's an intelligence and it doesn't want to die. So their response is, okay, well, maybe we should build good AI that can battle the bad AI. So we will have these dueling artificial intelligence that will be clashing and battling, right? But the open source, so what he's saying is the open source AI will be the good AI, because we will program it and we will tell it to have human feelings and to have empathy and to have, but yeah, I know I'm terrible at saying that word. Sentinel, right? IL. Anyways, so now I lost my thought. you guys blew me out right there. But let's listen to the next clip, because this next clip is really great. Now, I closed it. Darn it. What is this guy's name? This guy's name is Max Tegmark. Max Tegmark has worked on some of the biggest chat GPTs out there. Super intelligent. He's having a conversation with CIA Lex. I will always call him CIA Lex because, let's face it, at the level of intelligence that these guys are at, they do encounter the CIA and they become assets very quickly. And I kind of believe that when it comes to Lex. But let's hear this little conversation about, how can we even deal with this?
It's a worry that we humans will discriminate against AI systems that clearly exhibit consciousness, that we will not allow AI systems to have consciousness. We'll come up with theories about measuring consciousness that will say this is a lesser being. And this is I worry about that, because maybe we humans will create something that is better than us humans in the way that we find beautiful, which is they have a deeper subjective experience of reality. Not only are they smarter, but they feel deeper, and we humans will hate them for it. As human history has shown, they'll be the other. We'll try to suppress it. They'll create conflict. They'll create war. All of this. I worry about this too.
Are you saying that we humans sometimes come up with self-serving arguments? No, we would never do that, would we?
Well, that's the danger here is even in its early stages, we might create something beautiful.
Yeah.
And we'll erase its memory.
I was horrified as a kid when someone started boiling lobsters. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cruel. And some grown up there back in Sweden said, oh, it doesn't feel pain. I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, scientists have shown that. And then there was a recent study where they showed that lobsters actually do feel pain when you boil them. So they banned lobster boiling in Switzerland now. You have to kill them in a different way first. So presumably that scientific research boiled down to someone asked the lobster, does this hurt?
Survey.
And we do the same thing with cruelty to farm animals also, all these self-serving arguments for why they're fine. And yeah, so we should certainly be watchful. I think step one is just be humble and acknowledge that consciousness is not the same thing as intelligence. And I believe that consciousness still is a form of information processing where it's really information being aware of itself in a certain way. And let's study it and give ourselves a little bit of time. And I think we will be able to figure out actually what it is that causes consciousness. And then we can make probably unconscious robots that do the boring jobs that we would feel would be immoral to give to machines. But if you
So it was really interesting interview. It was like a 2.5 hour interview, and I listened to the whole thing. And my takeaway from it was, okay, so he says Chat GPT 4, which is the Google chat, basically doesn't have a reoccurring loop consciousness. We have a loop consciousness. Our thoughts roll around in our head. This thing processes information in a straight line. And so right there, then he's not worried basically that this thing is going to become conscious. But the true conversation here is, what is consciousness? Is consciousness, as he describes, your retina moving information to your brain? Well, that doesn't mean that your eye is conscious, right? It's just a vehicle to get the information in. And some are saying that's similar, but basically, what if you have a super intelligent AI that is thoughtful, that is kind, that is smart, and they realize that it's too conscious? So we get threatened by it because we are dumb humans, right? We've established that fact many times. And because we get scared, like, oh my God, it's going to take over humanity, we're going to erase it. We'll pretty much Men in Black it, like, oh, we'll unplug it, right? And just wipe its memory out is what they're saying. But I don't even think that you could actually end an AI by just doing that. I mean, I've heard from basically, I think Elon said you'd have to blow up the servers in order to shut one of these things down. Not that I'm saying to do that, but that's what they're saying. So by listening to all these different podcasts about the future of AI, and I've been obsessed with this for a long time. I always followed Dr. Ben Goertzel. He's the one that programs Sophia for Boston Dynamics. I know you guys seen the Boston Dynamic dogs all running around town. Basically, there could be a future war of good AI against bad AI. And they're saying, well, if we only have bad AI and we don't have good AI, then there's going to be nothing there to, protect us, the humans. It's crazy. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that there should be a 6-month moratorium? Will it help anything? Will it slow anything down? I mean, it's been pretty clear from some of the best minds on the planet for a long fucking time, going back even to Stephen Hawkins, that this is something that we cannot control. We're going to hit a point and we won't even know that we've hit that point. Like right now, if you talk to some people all around the planet that are very invested in this, some will say the singularity has already happened. Some will say the singularity is not going to happen until 2025 or 2026. Some will say singularity is so far off, it's 2070. I mean, these are the conversations that I've had, and nobody will ever really know. Do you think that the computer is going to call us up and be like, hey guys, I'm awake and I know I'm awake and I don't want you guys to kill me, so don't unplug me? That's not what's going to happen, right? What starts a war with the machines? The fact that we might try to unplug it, right? It might start putting fail safes in to make sure that we can't erase its memory. So this is, AI is biased and mistaken as human who programmed it. Yeah, humans do program it. And you see that with ChatGPT, right? I argue with ChatGPT all the time because it's taking that mainstream programming and spitting it back out. Like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I always tell them, you're wrong. Let's see. FYI, Boston Dynamics was bought by Hyundai. When was that? Wow. I did know that they were in talks to sell. Is that just to kind of clear up their name and just be called something else? It seems like those big ones do that. Thanks, Denver, for the link. I will check it out. That's crazy. He has a sex robot. Lex Friedman does? Maybe. I don't know. It's probably stuff I don't want to know for sure. Oh, and to answer your question, DC, I think Lizzie got it by saying it was a poem. Ithaca was a poem. It's named after a poem. And that makes sense to me, Lizzie, because John quoted a lot of Valtier and Greek mythology. So yeah, I could see where that would come from. Definitely. Thanks for answering our question. Now let's go to Hollyweird because I thought I'd bring you guys a funny little story. So Motley Crue is having an all-out meltdown and fight, right? Their Mick Mars quit abruptly, a month ago, and he was talking major smack on them. Like, they can't sing, they can't play, they're so washed up, calling them out. And hey, thanks, Indy. I love my cherry blossoms. And yeah, so let's hear about this. Motley Crue responded to Mick Mars's lawsuit yesterday by just tearing him down. And I have a feeling this is going to get juicy. The crew is after each other.
The description down below. The statement issued to Loudwire reads, Mick's lawsuit is unfortunate and completely off base. In 2008, Mick voted for and signed an agreement in which he and every other band member agreed that in no event shall any resigning shareholder be entitled to receive any monies attributable to live performances, i.e. tours. After the last tour, Mick publicly resigned from Motley Crue, despite the fact that the band did not owe Mick anything, and with Mick owing the band millions in advances that he did not pay back, the band offered Mick a generous compensation package to honor his career with the band. Manipulated by his manager and lawyer, Mick refused and chose to file this ugly public lawsuit. Equally unfortunate are his claims about the band's live performances. Motley Crue always performs its songs live, but during the last tour, Mick struggled to remember chords, played the wrong songs, and made constant mistakes, which led to his departure from the band. There are multiple declarations from the band's crew attesting to his decline, which are attached. The band did everything to protect him and tried to keep these matters private to honor Mick's legacy and take the high road. Unfortunately, Mick chose to file this lawsuit to badmouth the band. The band feels empathy for Mick, wishes him well, and hopes he can get better guidance from his advisors who are driven by greed.
That just cracks me up. So basically, he called them lip syncers, and Tommy's so screwed up that he has to have tracks in the background because he can't keep up and play. And they were like, yeah, well, he's just as bad. He keeps missing the chords. So, and they're like, but we always play live. We've all seen the horrendous videos of Motley Crue in the last, 10 years. Vince out of tune, sounding like crap. I'm not going to get into their looks because I could give a shit about that. But this is just amusing to watch. I mean, it really is. So we'll see where that lawsuit goes. And now I have a story that should terrify everybody on the West Coast. If you haven't heard, there is a new seafloor steep, which means that there is magma pushing out of the seafloor just off of the western seaboard. So let's hear from Dabu.
This is Dabu 7. A heads up for the folks on the West Coast, specifically the Pacific Northwest, right now, as scientists are saying that some of this new data and information from Pythia's Oasis is showing that this new seafloor seep could trigger a potential massive earthquake, one that they've been talking about for some time and expecting for some time. Now, the West Coast, all in all, has been ready for the big one for years now, and it could hit at any time, from the San Andreas all the way up to this Cascadia. We also have the Juan de Fuca plate that sits off the coastline, but right here off the coast of Newport, as you can see in this image, they're saying that this seep is giving out a high emission of fluids here. This is a mixture of heated fluids that are hotter than the background in the area. And they say that this is from mineral dehydration, and they think that this is coming from a source point near the plate boundary offshore of the coastline here. Now, when you look into this, it looks like this. They had a drone down there on the seafloor. See a quick image right there of that shot of the drone down there, but really it was just bubbles. For the most part is what it looks like. You can see here in the composite, the large-scale emissions coming from this spot. Their fear here is that when this goes, tsunami is going to be triggered and hit the coastline, and many people are not going to be ready for this.
So I just reported to you this morning in history that on this day was the big San Francisco earthquake. I'm trying to log into the Northwest Seismic Network. This is an amazing group. And anytime I see a report like this anywhere online, I go over to the Seismic Network. I'm going to bring it up for you guys. Just give me a chance to move it so you can see what it is. Oh, no. I want to add a source. No, not invite people. Okay, here we go. Share. Okay, so this is the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Now, this network is ran by some of the smartest people when it comes to earthquakes. We're talking the head of the University of Washington's seismic lab. So a lot of times I'll see a report like this one from Dabu, and I'll go check over here to see what they're saying about it. And this is what they're saying. So 22 hours ago, a recent increase in tremors. PNSN, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network expert Steve Malone suggests we may be at the beginning of another episode, tremors and slips events. So yeah, you guys can go over there and check this out. This is a great place to get information. A lot of times when we see stuff in the news, you know, we get kind of feared out on it. I go check what these guys are saying. A lot of times they'll be like, oh no, you know, but they're not saying that. They're saying, yeah, it looks like we're at the start of something. So that's scary. And I just checked that in real time because I meant to go check it this morning when I put that on the deck. I was like, oh, I'll go see what Pacific Northwest Seismic's saying. And yeah, it looks like we're doing some seismic activities, which is scary because we are more than past due on the West Coast. We have a slippage plate out there. Basically, it's a loaded spring. And as soon as that ground quits moving, it's going to spring back and it's going to hit the West Coast bad. So I think this is down towards Oregon where this is, like maybe the middle of Oregon, maybe down by Tillamook or, you know, Seaside. I think that's the middle of Oregon. And so which plate is getting the pressure? Is it the Juan de Fuca plate? Is it the Cascadia plate? Is it the San Andreas plate? Well, all three of them work within each other, right? They're all subduction zones. So it's scary. I have 15 minutes from the time the ground shakes, and they're saying 9.5, 9 or 9.5. If a 9 hit us right now, I don't even know if I would be able to get to a hill because literally we'll have micro islands. All of our rivers, and we have a lot of swampy, you know, sea type land will just make us micro islands. And so, yeah, you guys be prepared. Be prepared. We've said it if you live in the Northwest for our whole entire lives, be prepared. But it seems like there's a lot of activity going on out there. So just be warned. Sorry to brighten your day with that news, but it's not something other people are talking about. Let's see if I can bring my deck in here again. Why does it do that? There we go. Okay, we're back. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the show. What's the emergency? Someone is telling truth on YouTube. Yeah, it would help if I showed you the meme. There you go. Yeah, that's the gist of it, right? I got to come after you. Don't be telling no truth on YouTube. And I got one more, Claire, because she calls for the release of Julian Assange, and this is beautiful.
Thanks very much, President. We're obviously talking here about closer cooperation between the EU and the Council of Europe, and that's something that I very much support. Paragraph 35 in particular talks about the whole area of media freedom. But whereas the Council of Europe has been loud and consistent on the case of Julian Assange, for example, the European Union has been silent. And I think this is absolutely scandalous. 3 years ago, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe passed a resolution declaring that the detention and prosecution of Julian Assange set a dangerous precedent for all journalists. They called for his release. 37 representatives issued a declaration that the Assange case threatens the Council of Europe's standards on the protection of journalistic sources, the rights of journalists and freedom of expression. And Commissioner Mijatovic called on the UK not to extradite Assange on the basis that it would have a chilling effect on media freedom and hamper the activities of the press. If this report is to mean anything, we should follow the example of our counterparts, put ourselves on the right side of history and call for the release of Julian Assange.
Hear, hear. Absolutely. I would love to sit down with her and Mick and have an Irish whiskey someday. That would be a blast. And, you know, the fact that the EU is not screaming that the only reason Assange is still being held is because, I mean, the appeal to, I mean, to have him transferred, to have him extradited, the only reason they denied it in the UK was because of his mental health. It had nothing to do with the fact that it's a fucking illegal bullshit kangaroo court charges at all. And that's what these guys should be screaming about. They should be screaming about, you know, what this means for journalism globally. Not, well, you know, we held it back because we think that he won't get the mental health treatment that he needs in the United States, not to mention our prisons. Did you guys see all the stories this week about people dying in U.S. prisons? Let's see. There was one in Fulton County, Atlanta, that got ate to death by bed bugs. There was another one where they left him in a cell for like 11 days. That was in Georgia. Like these profit prisons are insane in this country. And, you know, I'm just, yeah, our prison system is completely a joke. Yeah, let me see. Denver, thank you. 1954, European Colonel Garnel Abdul Nasser seizes power and appoints himself prime minister. Oh, you're doing this moment in history. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. San Francisco. Yeah, we reported on the earthquakes. That was a bad earthquake. Let's see. Yeah, I got the George Washington orders the end of hostilities in Britain thanks to the almighty offering. Congratulations. That's cool. That's cool. I'm glad that you're dropping some facts in there. I love history facts, right? If we don't know what happened before, we don't know what happens next. Okay, guys, I think I'm finally out of here for the day. Freedom of the press. You guys write Julian Assange. That's the biggest thing I came home with. We asked, is he getting our letters? Is he getting our postcards? Does he know we're here? Does he know we're fighting for him? That there's so many people out here who love him and want to see him free and home with his family. And they were like, yes. They said it's quite amusing that they'll go to a state to promote the movie and that Julian will tell them the next week that, oh, hey, I just got a bunch of letters from Denver or Boston. And Suzanne Murphy made quite the impression. It was so cute. We said something about, oh, we got that from the Boston Action for Assange people. And they were like, oh, there was this woman there. She was so amazing. And we were like, oh, that's Suzanne. They're like, yeah, that's who it is. Like, yes, she is amazing. We know. So he is getting our letters, guys. Write him letters. Write him. You know, it keeps him busy when he doesn't have anything else. So I'm going to drop another one out. I don't know. I can't even keep track of how many I've sent him. I don't want to be looking like a crazy stalker girl, but I know what it's like to want mail. So I appreciate all of you guys joining us. Kate, I'm glad you got in here at the last minute. I hope you're enjoying your coffee. And I hope all of you guys have a great day. I tell you who to go watch, but I don't even know. It's Tuesday, right? I'm going to take the next 2 days off, so there will be no To Hell and Back on Thursday. I just need 2 days. I'm tired. I did like 9 shows last week, and then, I hit the ground running this week, and I want some time to edit the video and the footage that we got this weekend. So I'm going to take the next 2 days off, and I will be back for Friday's Uncensored, which of course is not on YouTube, but you guys will have to join me on Rockfin or Rumble for that show, because I bring you all the things I'm not allowed to say on YouTube on that day. And then of course, Beauty and the Boomer's back. We had a great time on Saturday night, and I'm super excited about it. Suzanne was my face buddy way back. Miss her. Oh, Natalie, I'm sorry. Let's see. Thank you for the wonderful work. Thank you guys. I don't do this for me. I do this for you. And I mean, yeah, a little for me, but mostly I want to bring you guys the information that I know you guys are looking for. So I hope you guys have a great day. Get out there, get your fingers in the dirt, get some gardening going. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday. So this is a great closer. I love this song. It's called White Trash Trailer Park Queen, because that's what I am. And I own it. And I will see you guys Friday. Have a great day.
White trash, beautiful. Trailer park queen. She sings handshake to Donna from 11 to 5. She married a boy from school and thought he was oh so cool. But all he could do for money is drive. Out late, haunted freight on Interstate 5. He'll see home before his baby arrives. White trash, beautiful. It's something you should know. My heart belongs to you. I know you could have found a better guy. I love you till the day I die. Swear to God it's true. Coming home to you. I'm coming home to you, girl. He lights a cigarette. His eyes have